Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody in between. And I mean everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Chaps Chat Cats. My name is Jake. The best part of your week starts now. I'm joined in the virtual studio by Sambo and Johnny. We are, of course, a part of the Hoops Crew Network. How are you, chaps?
Good.
Very well. Very, very well. How are you?
Piping hot energy off the top. I am in tip-top form and shape.
That's
just
good.
Came off probably my favorite birthday weekend as an adult. Saturday and Sunday was absolutely glorious. Thank you, chaps, for coming and helping, making it fucking awesome. And to everyone else, anyone who's listening who was also there. There was quite a crowd in our house because it rained, but no one bitched. No one moaned. You know, sometimes you get the group together and something goes wrong. The weather goes wrong or the food's not quite right. And there's a few in the crowd. They'll have a bitch. They'll have a moan. Suddenly the weekend is ruined. None of that. None of that. It was just a sensational group of people who were prepared to make the most of the weekend. And it was an absolute corker. One of the highlights was our good mate Owen fully rolling his recumbent bike, trying to ride it around our paddock track. It was a truly epic save. We had to literally pick him up and turn him back over. He was hanging upside down in his recumbent bike. So that was an epic way. I wish we had it on film, but it's all locked away in the memory bank. So anyway, enough of that. That's what I'm coming in off. On the show tonight.
I sadly missed the flip.
Oh,
so did I.
wish we had footage. I wish we had footage. It was one of my all-time favorites. Did he tell you about the flip?
He did. He did fill me in on it, yeah.
I think he was pretty proud of the flip, and he should have been.
Yeah. It sounded epic. Also, just to get off just, I like your jumper, Jake. It's a different direction tonight.
Thank you.
I did notice it. I like your cap, John. Is that a
Cheers.
cap from that that new Brad Pitt movie?
Dear God, no. This is
that's the Sunny
Astrid
Hayes
cat.
signed edition, Apex GP.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought it was
I don't think John has ever been more annoyed on the show.
I can tick that off my list then. That's achieved.
I don't think I've left. I don't think I've left a cinema more disappointed in my life than last night.
I don't think you've entered a cinema more disappointed than you last night.
Hey, as I said, I went there for you.
I knew from the moment you walked in.
If I could have the time to draw, or I could stomach using AI, I think this would be a perfect time to give Johnny a new profile picture that's Johnny, but the comic book guy from The Simpsons.
Absolutely.
Worst ending ever.
To be fair,
in a McLaren shirt.
The racing stuff they did was good. Like the footage of the cars racing is just every other aspect around that was just they could have done so much better.
My question though, John, like I fully understand, like you're someone who lives and breathes it. Like you notice in the first 20 seconds, you're like the back of the car doesn't flash like that. That's not the right. So like that's the level to which you're into F1. But were you not even enchanted by any of the performances, the character angles? Nothing? Nothing moved the gauge for you?
Like they're all like as I told my wife, like all the actors did well. Like they did their job, did what they could. It's just everything. Yeah, it was very Hollywood. It was like everything you expect from a Hollywood movie, and you know it'll do well. It's doing well in cinemas for that obvious reason. It's got the excitement. It's got the thrill. It's
Thank
got
God I can stay
great
employed.
racing. It's got the exciting crashes, which the crash in the movie actually did happen in real life. The big one.
Yeah.
It's just, as I said, they could have done it's so much better. So much better. And it's just a bit disappointing that they had Lewis Hamilton producing it, and he still lets a lot of this stuff into the show. And it's also took me out of it with all the drivers in it as well, and the team principals all looked a bit.
I would agree with you there. I thought it did suffer for the. I thought the cameos were actually unnecessary. Like, I get why, but I would have preferred, and it may have even been easier for someone like yourself to stomach that it was weird if it didn't feature the actual drivers and teams.
Yeah.
Just put it in a different universe, like,
because a lot of people
anyway,
have said it's not a documentary. It's just make believe. Yes, it's make believe, but it makes it hard when you see the drivers. You hear the commentary, which sounded so uninspired and so just, you can tell they're not actors, the commentary guys, and it was like playing a video game with that commentary, like AFL Evolution.
Welcome to the F1 recap podcast.
Yeah, maybe if we want, we could. I've got more questions and things. Maybe we could table this for the Patreon. Maybe people, if we think it's worthwhile talking about.
If they want to make another F1 movie, what they should do is
they will
make the F1 2021 season. Do it around Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton's season, because that is probably one of the most exciting seasons, and it would work well in a movie.
But cast actors don't have them.
But cast, yeah, exactly. Cast actors do like what they did with Rush. Base it around a couple of characters, and just because 2021 season was insane, and there's so much drama, so much shit happening on and off the track that it would make a really good movie.
Oh, bro, you catch the game last night?
And then
I was expecting Bob Catter to say he's not going to spend any time thinking about it.
I didn't, because I went home and watched a race that was delayed for an hour and a half, and Piastri won. So
I'm glad I didn't stay up for that. All right, I've got a call time there on our chat. We might get back to some more F1 dissection later. We're 7.5 minutes in. The people want their football. So on the show tonight, the Cats, Cull, Kangas. Bit of alliteration there. The cheapest literary trick available to me. And I took it in round 20. Then we're going to talk some extra notes, as we've already foreshadowed. Probably do half an hour on F1. The film. I really like it. It's the second time I've seen it, just so you know. Full disclosure. We might do that in the Patreon. We'll
rang hollow, John. Don't even try at this point.
We actually had some sound of John coming out of the cinema last night.
Disappointed!
Yeah. I thought it was going to be something else.
So,
but yeah.
So yes, if you want the Patreon part, sign up for the Patreon part. You know how this works. We've been literally talking to you about it for 2 years, 2.5 years, 3 years, something like that. Anyway, that's what's on the show tonight. Some F1 chat and a look ahead to round 21 against the Power. But before we get into that, I've got to say a quick Hoops Crew Media Network thank you to our mighty Media Network sponsor, and they are Cyril Cook Florist. Now go on over, you got to visit them at www.cyrilcookflorist.com.au. Remember to spell Cyril Cook with an E after the cook. You can phone them up on 035 222 2244, or you can visit them at Shop 12 in 11 Leather Street in Breakwater. And the key information here for you, Hoops Crew fans, the Hoops Crew family, football is family. The key thing for you guys to remember is you can get 20% off your next in-store, not only your in-store purchase, online. Fill in the voucher code at checkout with Go Cats. You get 20% off some luscious floral arrangements. So go on over, support the business that supports us, Cyril Cook Florist. We thank them so much for their sponsorship of our show and the Hoops Crew Media Network at large. All right, let's jump in. Chaps, the Cats, Cull, the Kangaroos in round 20. As I said, heck of a weekend for me. So I didn't get to write a full recap, but I'm going to recap it for you anyway because I'm an absolute, unquestioned fucking pro. So this game, we went in thinking, well, Geelong should win comfortably. We often go in thinking this as Cats fans. We should smash this team. We should put a 100-point margin on them almost without raising a sweat. Well, the Kangaroos led 13-7, 10 minutes into this game. And I wouldn't say there were any alarm bells ringing. The only alarm bells ringing in our household were the fact that KO couldn't rouse itself out of 240. What is that? It's not frames per second. It's a DPI. What do they call that? The internet quality thing. 240, 720, whatever it is. The KO quality was shithouse. Anyway.
Rounds per
The Roos led after... That's right. 13-7. The Roos led after 10 minutes. That was as close as it ever was. That was the 10 minutes in which this game was an actual contest because thereafter, Geelong took control of this match like adults versus kindergartners. This was unquestionably, I think, Geelong's most casual win of the season, and it came to the tune of 101 points. Absolutely insanity. It was 10 goals to 1 after North had that lead at the 10-minute mark. Geelong just piled it on. We'll probably talk about it. Chris Scott swiping his water bottle off the table angrily when the Cats allowed a North goal. They were up 76-16, nearly half time. The Roos put one on the board through Cam Zurhaar, and Scotty spits the dummy in the coach's box. So you can see where the standards were being set for the Cats in this match. They went on with the job in the second half, chaps. They kicked 8 goals, 5. So it really could have been bigger, this margin. I think that is a bit of a takeaway. When you finish the game with 22 goals, 18, 150, 40 scoring shots, North Melbourne are probably lucky that Geelong didn't kick as accurately as some games this season. You know, they're lucky this wasn't, 25 goals, 15 or something, or, 28 goals, 12, and a real proper monumental skewering. The Cats, they ran away with it in the third term. North got some junk time stuff going in the last quarter, but it was the junkiest of junk time. The Cats win at 22-18, 150-7, 49. Unbelievably, despite massive games from Bailey Smith, who had 40-plus touches. I think he had 13 clearances, kicked a goal. You had Tom Atkins racking up 8 tackles, 25 touches, 5 clearances. Max Holmes, 29 touches, 7 clearances. Jeremy Cameron booting 11 goals. Shannon Neal kicking 4 goals, 1. Winners across the board. Reece Stanley and the Cats really had the better of it in the ruck. Blixarves actually led the way with 27 hitouts and 3 clearances. This was utter Geelong domination. And despite that, chaps, you still saw comments on YouTube, on Twitter, people saying, oh, we looked very sloppy. We're not going to go far in the finals if we can't tidy these things up. And I understand the Chris Scott the Chris Scotts of the world, the coaching groups of the world having this opinion that, hey, we need to tighten this up. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. As fans, if we cannot just enjoy a 101-point shellacking, I think we've lost the essence of what it is to be a fan. This was the perfect cherry on top of my Saturday birthday. It was as casual as you like. It was some of your favorite players playing some of your favorite footy. Sambo, I can't imagine you've got many negative feelings coming out of this game. I'm interested to see what feelings you have at all around this match.
And
because
just
it
in
was
general,
yeah,
shell of a human.
no emotions. All the winning eventually atrophies us into unfeeling husks.
I don't understand that reference. But
is that Brad Pitt's character?
I'm sure I'll understand a lot more after I watch the movie. Yeah,
it's the
Sambo.
Hopefully.
Sambo, what are your thoughts on the
new
game?
world champion?
If football is family, then that was family aside because Yeah, it was absolutely an absolute massacre. It was, and I guess I'll take some pride in that. I think we all got something right. I think Jake, you said in the preview in the Patreon that Smith was going to have a big day out. I think Johnny said Cameron was going to kick an absolute bag.
True, I did.
Make the most of it. And I think I feel like I more or less called the way the game would run out, which was that the Roos would come out and look mildly competitive for 10 to 15 minutes. And that the Cats would actually, like, this wouldn't be a lackadaisical kind of, like, we wouldn't let them get in the back door at all here. I felt like we were out for blood. And you mentioned as well, Jake. None of that. Not nearly anywhere close to that. Ben, you mentioned, Jake, when I was talking about the way I thought the Cats would go about it, you said you felt like they were a little ticked off. Not the word you used, but I think that was evident in, like, a bit of the Chris Scott attitude. The Tom Atkins of it as well. I felt like Tom Atkins didn't look like he wanted to have an easy day out. He probably could have, but it didn't look like he wanted to let the gas off. So yeah, I enjoyed that. I felt like it was pretty easy to tick off some of the things that we'd looked ahead. I didn't think that this was only going to be a sort of 40, 50 goal margin. I thought we would absolutely smack them off the park. We did. So yeah, I think the the negative response, this sort of fearful, oh, but if we don't, it feels to me a little bit like immature. Like, people are so scared of getting hurt that they, like, want to put it out there first so that they can go, like, oh, I knew this would happen if it all does fall in a heap. It doesn't hurt me because I knew it was gonna, like, I saw it coming. And I think I do have to, like, it really irks me, but I do have to remember too that I think that's just the internet. Not to get us down another rabbit hole here, but the culture of the internet and the fact that you've kind of got to, if you're going to go and post on the internet, you're required to put a sound bite out there, not a sound bite, like a text bite that can encompass all of the most important things you want to say as quickly as possible. So people get to the negative so quickly. They'll go, good win, but. Whereas if you're standing around all the way we do it here, in a long form context, or if you're standing around, we might get to that. If the three of us had been talking around the campfire after the game, we'd talk about Cameron, we'd talk about Smith, we'd talk about Holmes, we'd talk about how bad the Kangaroos were, we'd talk about the funny stuff, the good stuff, the epic stuff, and then at the end we might go, I don't think, in fact I did. I said, I don't think we learn a lot from that game. I don't think this game does a lot to, like, set us up as a team. It does a lot to set us up in terms of ladder position and that kind of stuff. Yeah. And you get to it. And I think it's a perfectly valid opinion to have. Whereas if I was doing that on the internet, what I might say is, good win. I don't think we learn a lot from this. It'll, and that looks negative, right? Because you've like, it's almost like you're dismissing the good stuff. So it does tick me off when people go about this on the internet. But if I'm trying to be a little bit more empathetic, I think it's just people in a rush to get their, to get their conversation starters out there. I think it's true. We did look. There was times when we looked a little sloppy, blah blah blah. But it's really hard to look that good against a dog shit team. No offense meant.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's actually impressive that we looked that red hot and that we weren't sucked into this kind of like, we'll trudge around, like the Dangerfield kebab on the sidelines. That was a highlight. But the whole attitude around the game wasn't Dangerfield with a kebab on the sidelines. The attitude around the game was, let's get as much hurt on these guys as we can.
I know 100% agree there. And I'd just say on the stuff with the people on the internet, my main thing is, I guess, just to remind people, just make sure you enjoy it. Like you said, I think you've laid it out perfectly, that the internet is it's a terrible forum in some senses. And I think you're right. People jump to I've got 160 characters. I better make sure I get the negative bit out, the caveat, so I don't look like a dickhead if we lose the grand final. But just, yeah, like, I guess it's just that. It is well-meaning from my point of view. I suppose it does irk me, and I've removed myself from social media because I just don't want to have those conversations with people anymore where I'm going like, just fucking lighten up. But it comes from a genuine place for me to other fans of like, we talked about it on the pod. Geelong now has more wins this season than North Melbourne have had the last 4 years. North have won 12 games, 2022, 2023, 2024, and now this season. So 3.5 years, they've had less wins than we've had in 1 year. Just make sure you enjoy it because you don't know. This could be us eventually. In our lifetime, you just don't know what can happen. I mean, North Melbourne of the 90s, we're a powerhouse. They won multiple flags in the 90s. You don't know where you can go. So just make sure you do enjoy it. Like, yes, we want to win the flag every year. It does hurt when you don't. But let's also not take for granted that we get to rock up most weeks and win and make a prelim and make finals. Like, let's just not take for granted. I'm not saying it has to be the be all and end all of your footy experience if you don't want it to be. Make sure you enjoy it though while it's here, because before long it could be gone. Johnny, your sort of opening statements and feelings about the match?
Pretty similar. It sounds like, yeah, it's going into this game, pretty much knew we were going to win fairly comfortably, but not like that. That was a pretty comfortable win in North Melbourne. Apart from that first 5 minutes, really didn't put up a fight until the Cats put the cue in the rack in that last quarter. And yeah, it's one of those games where you can't learn much from it, because what can you learn against a team that's struggling as much as they are, apart from just enjoy the ride as a fan and just enjoy the game? Like, yeah, as you guys said, it's at the end of the day, it's a game. And if you let your emotions get the better of you, like, that's fine during a game. Like, you get involved, you get a bit heated, a bit passionate. But as soon as the game's over and the team doesn't win, you've got to be able to let that go. Otherwise, it's going to stew on you and ruin your weekend and make life pretty crappy. So yeah, like, at the end of the day, it's a game. It's there for entertainment. Yeah, it sucks when we lose, but also it's great when we win, and we're winning more than we're losing. So people need to chill out and enjoy it. As you said, Jack, it could be over next year. It could turn to shit.
Yeah.
Any year. But yeah, and yeah, as I said, during a game, it's hard to really know what we got out of this, apart from Jeremy Cameron's getting closer to 100 goals. Bailey Smith got a good little training session in alongside a few other players. Like, yeah, it really wasn't a great game from North Melbourne, and the Cats just toyed with them. As we said throughout the game, Cats just been a bit tricky here and there, where we're just doing a few things, trying to be a bit fancy, a bit tricky, handballed a bit too much. But you can get yourself into those situations when the opposition is just not really putting that much pressure on, where you can just go, oh, he's open, I'll handball over to him to get him in touch. Share the ball around, which I don't mind. I think that's perfectly fine. But it's a Cats thing as well. Sometimes we just get a little bit too tricky and catch ourselves out with a handball that's just a bit off. But apart from that, it's just a game between a team on fourth and a team that's struggling to find wins and find consistency. And it was that. I don't know what else. Yeah, thinking back, I don't know what else I was expecting this game to be. But yeah, it was a pretty rough one for a North supporter to watch that. But easy for us. It was pretty relaxing.
Yeah, I mean, you could, as we said, you could argue this was only really a game for 10 minutes. Just some stats. Geelong generated 40 scoring shots from 77 inside 50s. They allowed North to enter the attacking 50 just 36 times for 14 scores. Geelong were more efficient with the footy statistically. They towered over the Roos 50-31 in hitouts. They won 44-34 clearances. They held advantages in contested and uncontested footy. They committed 10 fewer turnovers. They outmarked the Roos in total marks and contested marks and clutched onto 27 marks inside 50 to North's 9. They out-tackled them 67-57. They laid 14 tackles inside 50 to North's 6. The only stats in sort of like the team stats page of the footy website was that North either won and were even in were 1%ers that they tied 30-30, and they won the running bounces 8-3. That was the extent of the wins for the Roos on the night. And I
the
thought,
handballs.
Contrast this with, the game from last week against the Saints. And, we watched the Saints, and obviously, we've got an uncle who supports St Kilda, and we've talked with him, about the Saints and sort of saying like, man, there's some talent on that team. There's some talent on that list. We're not the biggest fans of Rossi, and I don't think he is either. But, you can sort of look at that Saints list and go, man, in the right hands and with the right sort of game plan and pushed in the right direction, this team can be dangerous. I mean, they sort of float around the middle of the table. They just need a nudge in the right path. What the fuck do you take out of it as a North fan from the weekend? Like, they traded their first round pick, I think it's to Richmond at the start of this year. So they've got I think it's the number 2 pick in the draft. They traded away, so they won't have this. So I know we don't spend a lot of time talking about the other team, but like it just struck me that at least as a Saints fan last week, you could take something out of it. With Wanganeen Miller playing so well and a couple of the other guys going, there's a future here. It's fucking bleak as a North fan.
It is really, yeah. It sort of gets to that point where you do feel a bit for them that they've been suffering for so long, and that just they got all these superstar, like should be superstars coming into the team through draft picks, but I still think they need more mature players because, as I just said, but you can't teach young players with other young players, especially when you're not winning games. Like, you need to, as commentators say, you need to learn how to win, and they don't know how to win. And you can't teach a young player how to win in training or through losses or just through, coaching. You've got to get them that win, and I think they need more senior players in that side who, it's going to be a slog, but I think they just need those senior players to come in. Maybe it's just 2-3 years, but just to drill into them how to play this game to win. Because I just don't think they've got it at the moment. But these young players, so yeah, I can remember when we played soccer, like the amount of times we had chances to win and never could because we just didn't know what to do when the other team were attacking, or like, what do we do now when we're in front? How do we defend this? Everything goes out of the park, and you just sort of forget how to play the game.
So sort of pivoting out of this, the North angle, like what areas of the game then, if we're trying to like read anything from glean anything from it as Cats fans, like what areas maybe stood out to you that you found impressive, maybe irrespective of who the opposition was? I mean, an area I outlined, which I thought was really good, was just the Cats midfield, just like smushing North to a pulp. You had Bailey Smith, Holmes and Atkins, and they all led in different categories. Obviously, Bailey Smith, the 13 clearances and the 43 disposals, but they all had parts of the game that they were the leaders in. Together, they had 97 touches. 76 of those were effective disposals. So that was a 78% disposal efficiency across all three of them. They had 25 clearances, 14 tackles, 14 marks, assisted in 4 goals, and Bailey Smith did kick 1 goal himself. Generated 30 score involvements, won 42 contested possessions. They committed just 8 turnovers between them. I thought they were an absolute standout, but I don't know, Sambo or Johnny, like, does anything stand out to you from what Geelong were able to do that made you sort of go, oh, well, that is kind of translatable. We can actually take that and do it against other teams. So that is something really positive to glean from the performance, not just the outcome.
I mean, it is tough, as we've said. I think overall, like, having an idea of how your game can look when it's relatively uninhibited can be handy. You know, it can be useful to know what you're aiming for. And in a lot of ways, I think we did see that. We did aim for that. The way the midfield operated was how you'd like them to be. Obviously, not going to be able to do it at this level constantly through a game against a more competent opposition. But the way we were able to sort of rip the ball away and burst out and deliver it was, I think, not perfect, but I think a pretty good benchmark to kind of go, okay, now we might not be able to do that this many times against Collingwood, but if we can make it look like not half as good as that, but if we can, make it look exactly like that half as many times against Collingwood, I think that's a good, that's a good sort of example. Talking about things like we've sort of discussed for the last few weeks of, Bailey Smith. Why is Bailey Smith not getting the ball more in the middle? And again, this could be largely about the way North manned up, and that's fine. But to look at it like this and go, yeah, this is what it can look like when we are able to get the ball to him. So I think that is helpful. I think it is helpful to have a bit of a reminder and a benchmark to go, all right, we've got to look at how we can make more of our game look like that more often. There was also some other, just a little bit of variety. Like, I liked what O'Sheen Mullen did. I felt like he roamed around a little bit. Like, he popped up in the middle. I thought they sort of just flipped some switches just to see what could happen. And he had a couple of clearances to his name. Took some strong marks. And was involved in some sort of passages which I liked. Likewise, when they subbed out Danger and brought on Humphreys, and Humphreys didn't really necessarily play his normal role. He sort of was a little bit more unaffixed, I suppose. It seemed like he moved around a little bit, and he popped up in some really good spots. And looked sort of, I guess it was a reminder for me that he's the kind of player that he's not just good because of the position we put him in, I suppose, is one. Like, he's a really natural footballer, and I think he could be pretty good wherever you put him around the ground. I think he could do damage up forward, or half forward. I think he could run and deliver and carry the ball on the wing in an almost Ollie Dempsey way. So yeah, that was nice to see him pop up and sort of look like he was having a bit of fun, because I do feel like the weight of the world had been on Lawson a little bit this year, sort of in this stretch, last few, like maybe 4 to 5 games. I felt like he maybe wasn't enjoying his football the way he had previously. So it was nice to see him have a rest, but then also get out there and have some fun.
Yeah.
I'll just say, sorry, you go.
Oh, you go.
I was just going to say on O'Sheen Mullen, today they announced that he has signed on for 2 more years through to the end of 2027. And I'll just echo what you said. I thought he was really good. I thought he's been really good the last few weeks. I think he's entered that stage of his development like Rachel Kearns in the AFLW. And AFLW just around the corner. We're going to have to fucking get on some coverage of that too. Like, Rachel Kearns came in, looked like she was a highly powerful athlete who had never played the game, didn't seem to know which end of the footy to hold, didn't seem to know, very many of the rules. I sort of thought that's how O'Sheen looked early on. And they go through this process of like, where's a role we can put you that you can adapt the skills, you can understand the game, and we'll slowly make you a player that doesn't fuck up. When we're going to, and I think O'Sheen 2025, this is his season where he's reached that point. It's like, he doesn't really fuck up very often. Like he's actually doing his role really well, and you rarely see him make any of those errors that he once did. And with Rachel Kearns, the next 2 seasons have become about okay, now I'm going to punch back and hurt the opposition with my skill set, which is power and athleticism. I feel like 2026, 2027, the years we've just signed him on for, they can be those years for O'Shane Mullen, where he starts damaging back the other way. So I think it's a really exciting contract extension for Geelong. Sorry, Johnny, you were off on your thoughts about what to take away and that sort of thing from the game.
It was just sort of more like our transition that we're able to link up from defense through midfield into attack. I thought like that was really executed extremely well. Like, yeah, just again, it's hard to take away a lot from North Melbourne when they're like, especially from second and third quarter, they really just didn't put much pressure on. But you can see when the Cats do get going, that's how they can move it. And I think they'll reveal it a bit and go, this is how good we are when we move it quickly, move it efficiently, and get it inside 50 to Cameron and Shannon Neal. I thought, the transition work and the patience sometimes for the Cats, not to rush, but also bite off those brave kicks, would put us in good stead when it comes up to other teams. Okay, oh yeah, we can still do that really well, and back ourselves, back the players to do what needs to be done. And I just thought the kicking this week was much better as well. It didn't seem as many of those long high kicks to a 1-on-2, or it was more of a direct, purposeful kicks to players, especially on the wing, or ones that went over the top where they're able to run onto really nicely. And the backing each other up and having those outs everywhere was pleasing to see as well. Like the Cats were just all over the place, all over the North Melbourne Kangaroos every minute of that game. But yeah, it didn't feel like when the Cats were getting tackled, we were in danger. It was just going to be a handball out to someone else in a better position.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Agree with that. I think something that I took away that I thought was really, really impressive, because as you said, Johnny, North didn't apply that much pressure to us. It'd be, relatively easy, I suppose, as the team in charge, to not feel like you've got to maintain a high standard of pressure when the game is open and easy. But I actually thought the Cats hunted really ferociously. And if anything, that's what made it a 100-point margin, because if you don't pressure, North are able to play themselves back in a little bit. The game becomes junk time earlier. Geelong really hounded them. And I thought those waves of pressure were really, it was really frenzied, but it was disciplined at the same time. We talk about this a lot. You can't all go at the same time. You want those overlapping waves of like, all right, I'm going to I'm going to go and attack the ball carrier. If he gets past me or gets it off to someone else, you've got to leave your man and go to that guy. And we sort of have this overlap and flow on effect until we cause a turnover and swarm back the other way. And I just thought there was so much of that from Geelong, and I really liked it. I did a quick count. I think we had, and this is sort of napkin math, I think we had 260 odd pressure acts, and only 70-ish of those were in the defensive half. So that's, 190, the best part of 200 pressure acts in the front half. Obviously, the tackle inside 50 numbers were good too. 14 of our 67 tackles were inside 50. That's a nice, that's sort of, up near that 25%. I know it's not perfectly, it's a little bit under the 25%. But it's in that ballpark. I really like the pressure, and I love that that's a foundational piece for the Cats, because it's something you can always go back to. It's great to go, our foundational, the cornerstone of our game is, fast transition. And it's like, well, that's great if you've got the footy. I love that Geelong's sort of primary thing is we pressure. We apply pressure, because it means you keep yourself in with a chance, because if you can force a turnover, you win back the ball, suddenly the game can turn your way. So I was really happy with that. I was really happy with the pressure, particularly I think for probably like from the second half of the first quarter through to about 3/4 time, 2.5 quarters. I thought our pressure was absolutely elite and outstanding in an environment where it probably didn't need to be. But we went out and executed. I think you captured it, Sambo, when you said Tom Atkins was a player who didn't look like he was that he was after an easy night at the office. I love when you see players going in hard and challenging themselves on nights where they clearly don't have to, because that to me is the stuff that sets the standard over the course of a season.
Yeah, and I think it wasn't just Tom Atkins either. Just quickly, I think he's generally the standard setter, but I think that, and I do wonder if there's a certain element of knowing our fixture is quote unquote soft. And we had a similar situation last year, and old Fagan had a crack after they'd beat us in the prelim, where he sort of put the win down to the fact that the Lions had been playing hard, tough footy, and the Cats had not had to. I wonder if that's like a point to prove now. If you match up last year against North in round 20, same round against North, flogged them, but the result was 66 to 106. It speaks to a different level of aggression, maybe. to this year. And then obviously we then also smacked the Eagles, but again, not by 100 points. Close, but not 100 points. And then we smacked Port Adelaide in the first week of finals. Again, not 100 points. And I know that's, it's neither here nor there statistically, really, but it did just it felt different than the easy games last year to me. And I think that
pointed?
Pressure, possibly pointed. I think that pressure was the top down. Like Brian Myers, Sean Mann, and Tom Atkins all led the game for pressure act. And I think, if you smash a team like that, you'd want to, if you, again, as a North supporter, if I was North, I'd want to like be belted and go, oh, but look at our pressure. We tried. Like, to smash a team in a low pressure game and also have your pressure be the greater. And Brad Close was the other one who I felt also pressured. He's still out there. He had 21 pressure acts. That's not bad. But from like an eyeball test, I thought he was another guy that was out there to play a game and hone his craft, not just ring in 4 points to head us into finals.
So I don't know what Fagan's going on about having a tougher run. They had a pretty easy
last
run
year
as well themselves. Yeah. And they only beat us by 10 points, so it's not like they absolutely flogged us.
They only not to drive. They only beat us by 10 points, and it was only because Max Holmes did a friggin' hammy and went out again.
Snapped his hamstring.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I do wonder if again there's just a bit this year that makes me think the Cats are a little more aware of the narratives than maybe they're not more aware. Maybe they always are, but they always say they're not aware of the narratives and the social media. And this year it feels like with the audit, all these things, it does feel like there's a bit of an us against them attitude from the Cats, and I don't mind it, honestly.
If we win the grand final, I just cannot wait for the speeches and quotes that might come afterwards. That's all I'll say. Like last time we had Chris Scott, how good is it to be a Geelong person? If the Cats manage to go all the way this year, I'd be really interested to see what comes out. And it's funny, isn't it? Like we tend to lean into enjoying the ride on this podcast. Like I think, I think I've said if we won nothing else, like I could close the book on my time as a footy fan and go, I had everything. I didn't need more. I had very much my fill. You sort of forget that I really don't think about that prelim that often. Those players and coaches would be thinking about that all summer. We were, 10 points short of a game that we probably should have had put away by more at half time. The Cats dominated that game early and missed chances. And we might have had a fifth flag of the 21st century. Like you just sort of, I don't know. I tend to forget, like I live in this sort of headspace that, man, we're so fucking good and we're so lucky to have so many wins. You sort of forget sometimes that like, that's not the reality that the players and coaches live in. It's a much harsher reality.
Much harsher.
Let's do votes, chaps. Let's do votes, and then we'll head over to Patreon. So it's votes for players who stood out to us and did other stuff good too. Sambo, then Johnny, then me. You're 1, 2, and 3, and then we'll talk about the players. So just give us the order of operations.
I feel like mine are pretty, I don't know, pleb votes. Like I think
they all are.
I didn't like it. Just I don't know. Like it's again like I think you're doing the Lord's work this time, Jake. From our brief discussion, but I I justifiably could have dragged some more votes out for Atkins, but I thought I'd just go 1 to Max Holmes, 2 to 2 to Bailey Smith, and 3 to Jeremy Cameron.
Nice.
Johnny?
1 to Tom Atkins, 2 to Bailey Smith, 3 Jeremy Cameron.
All right. In that case, let's just try and make sure we talk about each of these players. Like we don't have to each. Well, let's start with the 1 votes then. Let's just do it that way. Let's start with the 1 votes. Sambo, talk about Max Holmes. Why did he get your 1 vote over Tom Atkins? Is it as simple as you're always giving Atkins the one, sort of Atkins has been that player to always sneak into your votes this season, and you sort of felt like hard to look past Holmes? Or what did you use to separate them this week?
Part of it is that. Part of it is that I always do give votes to Atkins, but also because I think Atkins is generally more influential on the outcome than he is given credit for. And I love the way he went about this game, but I don't necessarily know that he won the game. This game, to me, was won by a couple of blokes picking it up and kicking it a lot, and then another bloke kicking a lot of goals off the end of that. And that was, Holmes, and then more so Smith, and then obviously Cameron, the other one. So to me, Holmes is just this was a game that I love that Atkins and some of the other guys led with the pressure, and I think that led us to having such an easy win. But I think whereas other weeks it's off the back of that pressure, this time it felt more like that pressure was an exercise. It was more like, let's keep this sharp, let's hone this, let's practice this. So I feel like we maybe could have won this. We would have won this game without as much pressure, without, if Tom Atkins had sat down for half the game. Whereas Holmes, to me, and Smith, to a larger degree, are the ones that kept it turning, kept it moving, kept that ball in constant flux, never let it rest. And Holmes, I thought, haven't actually got his efficiency stats here, but I felt like he went at a pretty high clip in terms of, maybe not a percentage, I don't know, but 24 effective disposals. So I don't know what the percentage was, but just in terms of every time Holmes had it, it felt like he did something really good with it, and often at a fair clip too. Like he didn't necessarily have big
71% disposal efficiency.
Cool. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I'm happy with that. I think he was high on the list. Him and Smith were both pretty high on the list for effective kicks specifically as well. And Max Holmes was 4th on the team for kicking efficiency, 88.2. And yeah, it felt like he didn't necessarily have long runs where he was taking it the whole ground, but he had some real bursts. And when he delivered it, it was, I guess, one of those games where I just looked at it and I went, it's not easy to do, to kick it effectively at running at that speed and often under pressure. It's so easy to sky it, and I think that's what he tended to do back in the day, was get a little too under it and kick a floater. I think his kicks are starting to become a little more direct.
So I had the wrong stats up then for Max Holmes.
Oh,
he went at 82.8% efficiency.
There we go. I mean, even 71 was good.
And 88 by foot.
88 by foot. It's good.
Yeah. I like it.
And still gaining a fuckload of meters too. 654 meters gained on 29 touches. So he's going at, over 20 odd meters per disposal. Johnny, Tom Atkins, the reason I had him in my votes, I loved all the things we normally love: his attack on the footy, his contested possession. I just love the fact he had 3 goal assists too. There was a kick that he put into the 50 that was just an absolute tracer bullet. Why did he get in your votes? Some quick thoughts for you on Atkins.
Tom Atkins things, again, he's been ultra consistent the last few years, like this year, really. He's just been super consistent, and it's hard to look past him. Like there's just those few moments. One sticks in my mind, like it was in the center square. He's on his hands and knees. He picks up the ball, and he's sort of like just in this like tiny square on the. I can't remember what I was listening to, but they were talking about in the phone box area. They say he can just work his way out of there, and he just got the ball. He was on his knees, and he was able to stand up still, and just work his way out of it like it was nothing. And I thought he is such a talented player in that little area where the contested ball, everyone's fighting for the ball, and he's always the one who's either on the bottom of the pack or tackling the player with the ball. And I thought just this week he just, as you said, Sam, like the players who put in that effort against a team that wasn't really putting much pressure on. Tom Atkins was another one of those players we're playing a team that's on the bottom, basically on the bottom of the ladder, but he didn't seem like he was playing a team that was on the bottom of the ladder. He was like, this is just another team that we got to beat no matter what. And he went about his work effectively and extremely professional. And it's just, I can't remember another poor game by him the last couple of months. So I'm just going to keep giving him votes because he's just been so consistent and so reliable the last year.
It's insane to look at Tom Atkins on AFLtables.com. You can look at like a player's best performances in key categories across their career. 3 of his best 5 tackling games have happened this season. He had 17 against Richmond, 17 tackles. He had 14. Who the hell is CA? Who is CA? What team would be CA, boys? Am I drawing a blank here?
Carlton?
Brisbane Lions, CA. Carlton, maybe it is. 14 tackles against Carlton. And then 14 against... So he's had 14 twice this year. Once against Brisbane, once against Carlton. He's had 12 against Freo. He's absolutely playing career best footy. And we've talked about it. It's not just that he's averaging 19 disposals. So he's only averaging 19 disposals, chaps. But he's averaging team high tackles, 9.5 per game. He's averaging team high clearances. Remember, this is the team where Bailey Smith gets all the praise, where Holmes gets all the praise, where Dangerfield plays a bit on ball and everyone's like, oh, he's still our best midfielder. Atkins is averaging career high clearances and team high clearances this year. Averaging career high contested possessions, 11.5 per game. He's also averaging career high goal assists, basically 0.8 per game. So nearly best part of a goal assist per game this year. He's already had 15 in 19 matches. His previous best was 10 in 22 games last season. He's incredible. He's playing such good football. Such good football. Let's go to Bailey Smith. Sambo, lead us off on Bailey Smith.
This one's largely stat based for me. Like I have to, and I think you at least Jake, I can't remember where you were at with it, Johnny, but I think it was at around halftime, and I was like, God, Smith's had another quiet one. And we looked, and he was just absolutely friggin' tearing it up on
then we checked the stat sheet.
on the stat sheet.
So like 25 disposals at that point or something.
Yeah, it was crazy, and it was just absolute back in my box moment. And so had I not honed in on that, had I not become made aware, had I not checked the stats, I wonder at what point I would have finally gone, actually he's done a little bit of stuff. So I have to admit the eyeball test failed me on this one. For sure.
You weren't the only one.
But you know what I will point to is the ratio of contested to uncontested. And he
gonna say the same thing.
He had more contested than uncontested, which is very unusual. It's only by 2, but still, of his 44, equaling his career best, 44 disposals. Or 23 of them were contested. And so I do wonder if a lot were just getting lost in a bit of like a tornado. If he's done a lot of it in that middle, a lot of it might have been, handball, just really quick handballs out of a tackle. Some of it might have got missed, whereas what I usually look for, like the markers from Smith that I look for, is picking it up and running around the back of a pack, like a long possession where he's got it. You know what I mean? Like, and he's able to run with it, and he's very obvious. I feel like he was a little more covert this time, a little more amongst, which I really like. Again, in a game where the pressure wasn't high and the intensity didn't have to be high, I like that he got amongst it and won some of his own football. So that really impressed me.
Yeah.
Just on Bailey Smith statistically, he's achieved 43 disposals. So he's done it. He did it on the weekend and he did it again. He'd done it one other time in his career, and that was also against North Melbourne in 2022. I just wanted to point to the difference in that game. In the 2022 one against North, 32 of his possessions were uncontested, which means only about 11. I think it was 11. Let me just find him here. Bailey Smith. Possessions. So he had 32 uncontested possessions, 13 contested 3 years ago or whatever it was against North Melbourne in the previous time where he'd got 45 touches. So I think that demonstrates like the difference in him. And the other thing is clearances. He only won 3 clearances in that game against North. He's now got 13. So he has well and truly, Johnny, made that transition from being an outside player at the Dogs to being an on-ball midfielder for the Cats. He's made it very smoothly. I just echo largely what Sambo said. I don't know if you've got anything extra to add, Johnny. If not, pivot us into Jeremy Cameron.
I was just going to say the same thing, but I didn't notice a lot of his uncontested stuff, but his contested really stood out after he learned how he was going. And I thought, that hard ball he seemed like he's worked on and came out looking really good and worthy of the 2 votes. Jeremy Cameron, 11 goals, tore up that forward line, tore up North Melbourne defence. Like, he had a day out this game, and it probably should have been 12 goals if he got that free kick for a bit of a high spoil, but neither here nor there. He was just having a time out and cruising along, doing whatever he fancied. Like, it was just an absolute freak show of a performance by Jeremy Cameron. And I don't think, even if they had one of the best defenders in the league on him that game, I don't think anyone would have been able to stop him. He was just on fire, and it was really pleasing to see him dominate a game like that. And hopefully he can get the 100 goals. That'll be amazing to get the 100 goals in a year. Absolute freakish.
Even if it has to be including of finals and stuff, I don't care. Like, I know that the Coleman doesn't include finals, which I think is kind of fucking stupid, given that it's like they're the most important goals you would kick. Like, yeah, I know the Coleman's over, but like, why don't we include that? It's like, I don't understand. Like, it's just, it's like NFL MVP voting doesn't include playoffs. It's like, what are we talking about? Like, anyway, all I'll just say on Jeremy Coleman is that he's now kicked a total of 69 goals, 25, so 69. Nice. For the season. That's an average of 3.6 goals per game this year. He's now kicked 290 goals in 102 matches for Geelong. That's an average of 2.8 goals per game. He'll blow past 300 goals. Who knows? If he plays another few seasons, he might get to 400, in which case he'll probably end up kicking more goals as a Cat than as a Giant, which would be pretty fucking insane to think about. I mean, we talk about, Geelong, we're not very good at drafting in the first round. I don't think you have to be particularly good at drafting in the first round when you can turn a handful of picks into ready-made Jeremy Cameron, like plug and play this motherfucker in your team. Like he was incredible. I'm so glad we get to watch him do this. It's remarkable.
And the price we paid was definitely worth it.
Yeah, if you'd pay it 100 times over, they could have paid. We could have paid double, and it probably still wouldn't have been enough. Sambo, your thoughts on JC?
Yeah. Everything you said. I think he gets to 100. I think he keeps 100 goals, including finals. I'm not yet dissing that he keeps 100 in the home and away. Just waiting to see how he goes against Port.
True.
Like if he can kick a bag,
he kicks another 11.
Like, yeah, if he can kick another like 9 to 11, like he has a real hard go at it.
We know
the thing
where that ball's going every game now.
Well, the thing that will hurt us is the professionalism of the club. The fact that Chris Scott made some pointed comments about the ball delivery in the back half of the game. That it's certainly his
choice
up,
Chris.
to hit up Cameron, and they certainly kicking it to him when there was much better options was Scotty's Scotty's words. And to a degree, like he's right, and that some negativity online about looking sloppy, like, and how our like inside 50 conversion rate also isn't that great. Like we have so many scores and so many inside 50s. But I think our numbers hurt by the fact how much we were to Jeremy in that last quarter. But that's neither here nor there. I think he will. I think if we're including finals, I think he does. I do.
It's almost a shoo-in if we include finals.
Yeah. If we include finals and if we finish top 4, and so we 2 guaranteed, like I think so. I will just quickly, because I mean he was incredible. I think almost overlooked how incredible he was, where people are kind of going, it's just that you still need to do the stuff. North fell down and left him in space. You need to have the vision to go, they've left me the chain. I'm gonna fill this space. I'm gonna go here. Anyway, I feel like he's been almost lost in some of the other storylines, which Malira I can understand, like that Saints comeback and that performance at the end of the Saints game. I get that. The fact that people are putting Dacos, his performance above Cameron's, I don't know, just reeks of glazing. I wanted to go all the way back around quickly to Bailey Smith, and because I don't think we mentioned his ground ball gets, and that was one stat that I had wanted to mention. The next closest had 9. Do you guys know how many ground ball gets Bailey Smith had?
I'm going to say 15.
18.
18. It was 18. So he doubled the nearest best at 9.
That's pretty good.
And
crazy.
And I do think that's huge. Again, I know it's North Melbourne, blah blah blah, but I think it's really frustrating to watch some weeks when the ground ball gets seem to go against us. Like it does feel like we often just like can't, like when balls bowling around at people's feet, blah blah blah. Like it's often, I feel like other teams often have the edge against us in that area. So it's nice to have a player that absolutely smashes everybody. You could add the next 2 players together, and he still has more ground balls than those players.
It's good.
I just want to draw your attention to the fact that he averages 3.5 goals a game against North Melbourne. Do you know the other team he averages 3.5 goals against? Korea?
Oh, sorry, Jeremy Cameron. Did I have Jeremy Bailey Smith? I can't remember. Sorry.
Oh no, I'm just sorry. I pivoted to talk about Jeremy Cameron.
Port Adelaide.
No, Collingwood.
Hey.
Actually, he does.
He's kicked 61 goals against the Pirates.
really well.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So it was a career high 11 goals for him. Yeah, it's been a hell of a season for Jeremy Cameron. Just absolutely ridiculous. His last, and think back to some of the games. One in particular, the Richmond game. He kicked 4 goals, 5 against Richmond.
There's another 9.
Actually had a relatively quiet start to the season.
Yeah. There's been calls to drop him to the AFL, remember?
Someone was going to put him in their in their school for people that want to kick real good.
That's enough out of us from the public part of the show. We're going to go over to Patreon. I'm sure Sam will grill John a little bit more about F1. We'll probably talk about. Well, we'll definitely talk about the upcoming Port Adelaide game. And anything else that takes our fancy. All right. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Make sure you hit the subscribe, the follow on your relevant podcast app or YouTube. We'd appreciate it greatly. And until next time, go fuck yourselves. I mean, go Cats.
Go Cats.